Hi, I'm Vanessa Anastasiadis, and I'm Greek.
Growing up in a Greek household, and this is going back in the 1950s and late 1940s, even 1960, it was very different, I think, than other cultures because we were a minority.
Call them nisiros. Very, very small and poor because we had no water, no except raining water.
As a matter of fact, if anyone wasn't Greek, you referred to them as an American, which you were an American too, but you were Greek and they were American.
Like a mountain, top of the mountain. I'm born in a very small house. I'm one of 8 children in the family. The house was built 1933 from my grandfather, which he was in America.
Household, your name was everything. Who you are and where you come from was instilled in you. You always, wherever you went, you had to make sure you did things that would honor the family name.
I remember growing up, we were so poor. We didn't have enough forks, spoons, knives, or even plates for one of them. So we had to eat each one individual and wait so we clean the plate and eat the second person, or we share the food by passing the utensils around so we can all eat at the same time.
I think it's because the immigrants came here, like my father, with 2 things: the love of their church and the love of their family.
Then for clothes, a lot of times was my great thing that I had to wait for my older brother to grow up from his size of the shoes he was wearing so that I can get the shoes, or growing up the size of the pants he was wearing so I can get the pants. But a lot of times those shoes and those pants, they were ripped. And my mother used to patch them up with different colors material. Like if they were jeans, they would probably had some other color material on it. And I was so happy when I was inheriting my brother's clothes, that I thought really was a big gift.
Minority, that means that other people were different. And remember, this is first generation, so you were told, well, you should stay with your own kind because then you know that they were raised like you. So they frowned upon you going with anyone who wasn't Greek because that was scary. You don't know who these people are, where they came from. So
in 1942, in 1958, my father, which he came to America in 1956, he brought us over from Greece. Me and my 3 brothers and sisters. I was 15 years old when I came to America. And from the moment I came here, 2 days later, I went to work. I remember working in a bakery.
And no, we couldn't even stay out late because those are things that the Americans did and not you.
I didn't know the language, and little by little I learned, going to the 9 classes, evening classes, learn English.
Growing up in a Greek household, I think, is kind of different from growing up in a non-Greek household. At least from my experience, with my friends, we talk about these things sometimes, and it's like, pretty much the most important thing is your name. Like, you can't do things that would disrespect your family, you can't do things that would taint your name, pretty much respect is like a big thing.
Growing up in a Greek household was very different from growing up in a non-Greek household. My parents were very strict. I was not allowed to do a lot of the things that my non-Greek friends were allowed to do. as far as like going out and staying out late.
Basically, I came to the United States when I was 18 years old, and I guess for my first 18 years of my life, I live in another country, and it was much different than it is here. Life wasn't as simple, but we had a lot of fun.
You know, once you're gone, your name is what is your legacy, is what is left behind. So if you have a bad name, if something's wrong with your name, then, you know, it's pretty much it. Like, what do you have left behind, you know?
Religion and family were very much a part of our lives, and also music. My parents were very involved in church. We went to church every Sunday. We were involved in the church activities.
Basically, I spent most of my life going to school, try to be something, and it was school and play, school and play. I had 3 sisters. I was the oldest one. We came from a basically upper middle class family. We were doing all right. We didn't have to come to this country. I don't know why we came here, but
Pretty much like family and church are very important. I come from a very large family, large Greek family. And we're all very close. I know a lot of people are like, well, how could you be so close to so many people? I don't know, it's not really that difficult, being that we always grew up together. My mom is one of 5. She's the youngest of 5 sisters. So, I don't know, I mean, they always grew up in a very tight-knit family. It's what my mom came from, and all my aunts, so they always brought up their children same way, very tight-knit family.
Music was very important in our lives. Every holiday we had music playing. Our relatives and friends would just get up and start dancing, and that really showed how important these things were in our everyday life.
my mother was a single child. My father was one of 9, so they both came from a different sort of backgrounds, and they both have different ideas of try to tell us how to grow up.
Dancing is also very important. Like growing up in a Greek household, pretty much dancing and music are always around. You learn from a young age, you know how to do Greek dances, and like once you get to be my age, you're pretty much like a pro, you know like the steps. I didn't know my grandparents that well. My grandfather died before I was born, but he played the banjo, and he was like very musically inclined, and I think that like passed onto, you know, my family's generation. But my mom told me that when they were younger, they always used to have like all these parties all the time. Oh, you know, big get-togethers, there's always music, there's always dancing. You know, it doesn't matter if you're in the house, you can still get up and dance. Like, that's the thing, like no matter where you are. Christening, weddings, even at your house, Christmas time, like they're dancing at Christmas time, you know, in the house.
I always do the things that my non-Greek friends could do, as far as like going different places, staying out late, going away, you know. Even for my high school senior trip was a one-day trip to Washington, D.C. And that was leaving very early in the morning and coming back at night. And even that, you know, my mother was a little leery about, but she did finally let me attend.
Soccer, volleyball, soccer, basketball. But my major sport actually, which I'm very glad about it, was water polo. And believe it or not, I was selected to the Olympic team. I was basically the youngest player ever in Greece to be selected. But unfortunately didn't make it because I got sick and didn't make it on the final games to be on a final team to go to the Olympics.
A situation where you're always dancing together and you're always like listening and playing music together, I think that also makes a family closer, and I think maybe that's why I'm really close with my family. I mean, I guess because it's like really big. My values are different. Like my friends can just leave the house at like 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't leave the house at 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, I could be out at 1 o'clock, like already out, but I can't leave my house at 1 o'clock. because that's not what Greek people do. That's not what we do, you know, in this family. St. Nicholas in Flushing, they always have Greek festivals. Like I think it's twice a year, once in October, and I don't remember the other month, but you know, the Greek festivals are really fun because, like I said, you know, you've been going to church for, you know, in my case, like, you know, 21 years, and you know, it's like a second family. It's like, you know, you have your family, your friends, and then it's like your church family. That's like, you know, separate. You know, it's fun because you get to dance, you get to, you know, eat the Greek food. It's stereotypical because, like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, you know, you're Greek, you're so loud and big. Well, you know, yeah, you know, we are. I'm not even gonna, like, deny that. But I come from a very big, you know, Greek, loud family, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you? Hi.
Unfortunately,
Oh, it's nice to meet you. What's your name?
Vanessa.
Vanessa. What a wonderful name.
Vanessa Scorsese.
Vanessa Scorsese?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah?
Oh my goodness, that's wonderful.
That's a lawsuit right there. Martin.
I'll drink to that. Goes down like water. And after 3 of these, you feel like, woo! It's a year.